My name's Erich Spengler. I don't think I know everybody. I know quite a few people in here, so welcome. We're going to talk about security and remote lab virtualization. And it's security and remote lab virtualization has been somewhat of a challenge for us in the past, but we're trying to sort of uncover some of those challenges, overcome those challenges, and move forward. So, what are some of the reasons why this is a thing? Well, why are here? What are some of the reasons why, if we're thinking about teaching security, that we might want to think about containment of the laboratories? What's some of the issues? What did we just see? Yeah. So, the point well taken. If how well will schools respond to people downloading these types of things on their machines? Are students going to feel good about doing everything? I mean, we've been teaching in VMware. We've been running isolated virtual switches. We've been doing a lot of things locally. So, for us, the question is, what are some of the ways that we're going to make schools feel a little better about it? Okay, how can we get more security education in? And then what's one of the big transformations we're doing with our educational classes now? Hybrid courses, online courses, and if you go to a student and say, okay, we're going to teach an online course for you, but by the way, you have to download all these VMwares, and you have to put Metasploit on your home machine, and you have to do this, and you have to do this. And some people take these classes at work, right? That's not going to work out. So how do you do all these things? So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. Is if you went to the session this morning on VMware, we're going to talk a little bit about NetLabs and VMware and what we've been doing with it. And what we've been doing with it is going and doing some customization beyond some of the standard configurations to implement new types of opportunities. These opportunities include items such as competitions, items such as cybersecurity curriculum, and not only do we do labs and competitions, and we also started to do events. So this remote platform has provided a nice opportunity for us to expand what we do. So today, what I wanted to do is show you the platform, so you can get sort of a concept of how we're using this in a virtual environment. And I passed out a little bit a lab for you, so if you wanted to try it, we can log in and try it. And the lab that I passed out was a small sort of cybersecurity lab, and it's not Metasploit, it's not breaking into systems. It's really basic, sort of a scan, do a lab. But I passed it out, and I want to show you. And you can keep these accounts. And the idea is, as you go home, if you have an account, you can log in later. Your convenience, you can schedule time in the lab and use it as you like. So that lab usually stays up. So it's all good. So with that, again, I'll reintroduce myself again. My name is Erich Spengler. I'm from Moraine Valley Community College and the Center for System Security and Information Assurance. We're an NSF-funded National Resource Center. So again, our job is to support schools and other initiatives in new academic types of direction. With me, my colleague is Dr. John Sands, and John is also with the center. He also works at Moraine Valley, and we've both been involved in the center for various types of levels over the last several years. Has anybody been to some of we do a number of train-to-trainer classes and things? Anybody been to some of our training classes? A couple people? Okay, good. Any intro, John, you'd like to say?
Nope.
Okay, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about us. Then I'm going to give some demos. So I only have 4 slides. So this is one. So only 4 slides, and that's because I thought the demo and the QA might be an easy way for you to get a feeling about what types of things that we do. Again, our job is to disseminate models, look at new models for virtual teaching. Our classes are expanding, and our students want to do labs at home. They want to do that. We don't know where they're going to be. We can no longer say that this class has to be in this lab. So our labs are becoming more multi-purpose. Are you seeing those in your institutions? A little more multi-purpose, and it's a little more difficult. So we're looking at new models for virtual teaching and learning environments, and we're trying to incorporate cybersecurity standards such as the NSA CNNS standards, 4011, 4013, while still supporting things like Cisco Academy and new initiatives like the VMware Academy. We've also expanded into competitions. We're running competitions at the college level. We're initiating some new competitions at the community college level, and we've been doing it at universities and community college for years, and at the high school level. And if you're not familiar with how many people are familiar with the Net Riders types of competitions? Okay, so we're basically implementing a Net Riders type competition, which is a security-based competition, and a Net Riders competition is a Cisco Academy type competition. And basically, what you do is it's a multi-tiered competition, which has an exam, which has a design component and implementation component, and we're transitioning that type of model into security. Any more items you'd like to talk about that?
No, I think the two things I'd just say, the reason we're really focusing on virtualization is that we've trained a lot of people in cybersecurity and teaching ethical hacking classes and other types of classes dealing with security. In most institutions, we get two common types of feedback. One is they're not going to allow them type of classes to be taught on their networks. So you have to put it in a virtual environment. You have to put it in a sandbox. And this is one way to do it. But the other thing is when you're teaching these classes, you need different versions of different images and so on. So you pretty much have to do some form of virtualization anyhow. So to demonstrate certain types of attacks, you have to show a machine, before you patch it, after you patch it, with specific types of software in it. And each of them labs might require a lot of maintenance and configuration work from instructors. So the idea of this project really is to automate that process for you so you don't have to do that. And to make it acceptable to your administration to run these classes in your environment because it's safe, it's in a sandbox, it's not going to be on their home network.
So in these courses, again, these include information assurance courses, ethical hacking courses, using Metasploit, Backtrack, all those types of items. Okay, so what have we done? Well, we've just started. This project has just started. So we've only been working on it for, actually just for a few months now. We started in September. And it takes time to bring these new models to life. But what we've done in September is we've done a couple things. First of all, we built a new partnership with NDG, and that partnership is allowing us to work on security curriculum and try to bring, again, security curriculum into these remote virtual types of environments. And we ran a couple pilot events. One was a Collegiate Cyber Exercise event. I thought that would be a nice event to show you, and that's what I actually had passed out. We wrote a little lab for that event, and what that was is we basically took students from all around the state, we brought them into one place. We had the FBI give them a little talk about some cases and hacking cases, and then they went and they spent the day with some mentors and they did some labs. So that's what I passed out the lab for that. We've done some other initiatives, which is nationwide cyber defense competitions. We did this in November and in September, and which was basically a virtual competition, which means we had teams in California, we had teams in Maryland, we had teams in Chicago, we had teams all over the country. Our red team was virtual. We had red team members, and these are attack members that were trying to break into. Students were trying to protect their systems, and these members trying to break in. And they were located in, again, all around the country. So we virtualized these competitions as a pilot, and by virtualizing these competitions, we're trying to demonstrate the flexibility of what the future holds. And in fact, this spring we're going to be running competitions, total virtual. So we have five or six competitions scheduled, and they'll all be run within this type of environment that I'm going to be showing you. So they've been working out so far very well, and we hold a lot of good hopes for the future. This is one of the final slides, again, before I start to do the demo. And I wanted to show you, just took some pictures and some snapshots of really what it is. And what a virtualized environment is sometimes we can draw some logical pictures, but physically, the neat thing about, sometimes when you do competitions, is you can virtualize everything. The neat thing about environments is sometimes you have to mix hardware, physical hardware, and then logical operating systems. So this is effectively, in the end, what the rack looks like. It's nice and pretty in the drawing, but when you look at the setup. But this is it. I mean, and I'll show you how this runs. Once this is set, this is what's so nice, is as an instructor, as a faculty member, it's very difficult to set up for class every day, wondering how class is going to be set, how the lab's going to be set up properly, what happened, who was the prior teacher in there, who taught the class, what's going on. Oh no, sometimes we spend half our classes, how many of you spend half your classes actually trying to set up for the class, and then the other half, the students are finally saying, okay, now we can get going. So pre-setting up your environment is just pretty much looking at it. So we actually in this case, we set a camera up, and on that camera, people all around the country, when we were doing the competitions, they were watching. This is the equipment, not real exciting to look at, but this is actually where the whole competition is running on these racks. Technically, a lot of it just exists in this little box up here. This is an NDG NetLab box, and most of the front end, which is the front end, the connections, and the content, and that's all put through this this appliance. And then on the back end, we have our servers, which are our virtual servers, and then we have attached some physical, some Cisco equipment in there, just to give a little more robustness to the competitions. But here's the way they ended up. So we do different types of things. One is we set up a more of a classroom model. We call this our CSSIA model, and this shows that multiple people can work in a group at the same time. So it's not one person, one window. Sometimes multiple students work together. In this case, we have 5 XP systems, 5 backtrack systems, and then a whole buffet of servers down here, so groups can work together in one place. This is a little more individual, so we also have a design we're working on, which is the ethical hacking design. So when you talk about backtrack and Metasploit and all those items, those are all preloaded. So if somebody wants to get in and do some backtrack and Metasploit labs, they just hop right in and do a schedule, and it all comes up. And these, again, all these exist within this sandbox environment remote. So they can do it at work, they can do it on their laptop, and all the labs, and this is what you're going to be doing today, and all the labs operate, again, without really trying to deploy anything into this local machine. You can see these are sort of an example of some of the things that we've done. So let me go. Is there any questions so far? Questions?
At one point, I should just point out as you're going through this, one of the advantages is students and instructors can collaborate in that environment. So you can have 2 people on the same box, 2 people on the same device, and you can literally watch what someone's doing or collaborate with someone. So it can be in different places working on the same thing.
What John's talking about is actually really interesting. It's not shown here very well, but when I bring a window up like this, what's really interesting is I can go in and I can see what students are doing. So if I wanted to see if somebody's working on something, I just click the box, and I can see, I'll open up another window and I'll see them moving their mouse, and everything is synchronous, whether I'm using a physical device like a Cisco switch or a router or a firewall, or I'm using a logical device like an operating system, whether you're using Windows or Linux, everything is synchronous. So students can either work together, they can work in teams, they can work in cohort groups, which is really a unique feature of getting a nice academic experience. Okay, so what I was going to do is I was going to demo the CCEE environment, because we don't have too much, about 40, 45, 50 minutes. I was going to talk about the CCDC and sort of give you a flavor for the different types of environments that we've been working with. Okay, and again, these are mostly custom, but a custom environment is not a difficult environment. This takes a little bit of time, but again, once it's set up, it makes things very, very simple. So we have a few different environments set up. One is our cyber lab. Let me think about what's the best. Let's go into the CCDC first. So within our competition, we have a couple different things that we've set up. Okay. Now, what this is actually, interesting enough, DePaul University is on here practicing. One of our big initiatives this year was when we run a competition, is to allow the teams to actually go in and experience the environment, to experience and run through some exercises before the competition actually happens. And so actually DePaul's, we could probably click in and see what they're doing, right? So interesting in this setup is we have a core setup. What the core is we create one environment, and the core environment is an environment that all the teams share, which means if somebody wants to get to the internet, the core environment is connected to the internet. It's got a number of DNS machines that are in. This is what controls our scoring engine for the competition. We have some other services and logging services that go on, and then these are all connected out to our teams. We have a core switch, and this runs to the internet. One of the things we also do is we track and log all the data. So all the pipes right here are logged, so we can see all the traffic that passes in and out. Again, a lot of times we talk about a sandbox, but in certain cases, we simply run an interconnection to our network, and then our network will filter that traffic and watch what goes in and out. But these pods can now interact inside the internet, which is really nice. A lot of people say, well, I can't get to the internet. I really need to download things. Part of my lab is to be more, engaging in what, doing some, not having multiple systems. So that's what a core allows us to do. And then all the teams are simply connected. So these are real equipment. So if I bring up a core switch, this is the actual switch.
So all you have to do is click click on the picture of the switch and he's in.
This is this is a Cisco switch. It's a 3560 switch, I think this is a 3550. And so this is the actual switch. We have a 2011 router, and then these are all virtual machines, whether it's an XP machine or whether it's a Linux machine. These DNS servers were Linux or?
While he's bringing that up, are you familiar with the security competitions, what they're all about, the CCDC? I mean, the idea is you bring a team from each of the different schools, and they basically inherit a network for the competition. And they're scored on their ability to protect that network, to bring up the services and maintain the services. And there's an engine out there that tests them continuously to make sure that the services that they've inherited are up and running and they haven't been taken down by an attack. And after they've inherited the network, tried to harden it, a red team comes up and starts to attack all the different teams and try to bring their services down. All right? So that's what we basically use as one of the uses for this virtual environment is to be able to run this competition virtually. So you can be here in California going against someone in Maryland and someone in Chicago, so on.
So again, you can see that we have a university that's out there practicing. And then what I did is I fired up a team pod. So the teams will go in and they won't see the core. They don't see anything when they log in, the team members. They'll only see this. So this is our actual network that will be we use during the competition. This includes a number of boxes. We have obviously a directory, Active Directory network. We have some Unix boxes. We have some Cisco physical equipment. It's all integrated, and this is all tied into the core. Again, part of the competition is a team comes in, it's a team of students, and they can interact with it in virtual environment. Then they can come in and harden the machines. They can defend the machine against the red team. And we have some interesting connections we built in the red team. And again, I talk about interesting connections because it's more of a flexibility that I wanted to show you of this environment. And within this environment, again, as you can see, so I'm right out on the internet. So how you connect it where it's all virtual, again, I can write on the internet. So how easy is it to set up? I think this is one of the more important things to really show you. And some of the challenges we have in a virtual environment, especially in a remote and virtual environment, is getting the machines. What if I have to reboot? What if I turn the machines off? What if I have to restart? What's really nice is I have a lot of control up here. So let's say, for example, I want to see the status of it. So I can go in and I can look and see, are my physical devices online? Are my virtual devices online? What's the function? How their configurations being loaded? I can go back and I can actually power on and off every device all at once, the entire system. I can re-scrub the systems. I can password recovery to the hardware devices. I can re-scrub any of the virtual devices. So I can go back again, and if I mess up a machine, that's one of the things that students do. If I mess up a machine, no big deal, right? I'll just go ahead and I'll say scrub it. And basically what it does in a scrub is just snapshots it back. Why is that handy? Well, at the end of class, what happens if I have a class an hour later, it's the same class? Well, now students come in and everything's back to normal. They go home, everything's back to normal. So it's nice that students have a lot of control, whether it's in a competition or whether it's a lab learning environment, they have a lot of control over how these machines
even
are
in a competition environment, if a student crashes their machine, well, they've really lost the experience of the competition. So this way, you can charge them points, but you can get them back into the competition when they're doing things and learning things and so on. So it's useful both live or after it's done to start the process all over again.
Yeah, we've been running competitions for several years, and we find that these skills events and these sort of experiential type of learning really help in the resume building and the portfolios of the students. We have our sponsor this year, Deloitte Touche, is sponsoring the national competition. So we got a lot of, it helps the students build their skills and gives them great things to talk about with the employers. But when I go back, just to show you how easy it is, it used to be getting a system reset, getting it rebuilt was very difficult. Now we just go ahead and say, scrub the device.
Eric?
Yes?
This competition, is it timed or is this something that Is it the last team left,
There are
left
different
standing?
types of competitions.
Are there different type of
This
competitions?
is a collegiate cyber defense competition. There's different levels of competitions, and actually this competition we work with Cal Poly, and there's a number of other schools involved out here on the West Coast. Yes, it's actually timed. We have, in this case it was a 6-hour competition. We have an hour of prep with the teams. The teams come in, they get an hour of instruction on how to use the environment. Once they use the environment, they do verifying scoring checks to make sure that they can reach every machine, they can log into every machine. And then we have a special scoring system where they can see whether the machines are up and down scoring. So the scoring engine actually comes in from the outside. Is your web server up? Are your services running? Whatever. Everything we set up and we want to score. And then if a hacker comes in and takes their service down, of course they lose points because their service is down. So the competition automatically monitors all of these activities that are going on. At the end of the 6 hours, they come up, we tally up the scores, boom, then we have a winner. So
And
it's
just so I understand, you use this as a teaching tool. This will be set up for, say, a class, or this is among schools.
right. How do you learn in advance? This is an excellent question. So that was one of the problems in the past. The problems in the past is how do you mentor the students? And it's been a big challenge because they'll come into a competition, they don't know the environment, and competitions were multiple days. And that's what happens. We had to make a 2 or 3 day competition. Now we can get the competitions down to a short span because we have a lab that they can get into. Like, for example, you saw DePaul, they were actually in there practicing on the lab, and they're able to go in, spend time, schedule time, and go in, harden their systems, get a little environment, get a little understanding of the environment, and it's tied. So what we're doing this year is we tie them to certain standards, like the CNSS 4011 standards. We won't say, can you do this specific skill, because we want to have a little more problem-solving skills for the students, but we put them in a more hostile environment, and those are the higher-end competitions. But we have several levels of competitions, and for the high schools, it's a little more.
Yeah, let me add a little bit to it, because I'm working on just what you're talking about. Eric really is he's building the environment with NLP and so on. What I'm trying to do is help better prepare our students to be able to do these kind of things, to be able to be in a competition and so on. So we're doing a couple things. One, just like Eric said, we can use the environment to instruct in. So not only do we use this for competition, but we can teach in this environment. They can do their everyday labs in this environment, each of the exercises and so on. And one of the things that we're doing is we're starting this at the high school level now. So one of the reasons I'm out here is trying to recruit a group of high schools in the California area that'd like to do this and then move it to the community college level, because in the past what happened, we only have the students for a very short time in community colleges. So if we can get them started with simulation and virtualization and stuff early on, by the time they get to us, they're going to be much more prepared to be able to do these types of things. Okay? So if you're associated with high schools and think you'd be interested, you can take a look at one of our websites that we're building. It's compete.morainevalley.edu. But we literally say, okay, for the high schools, we want them to know these 12 skills. The competition will be based on these 12 skills. All right, and we'll have a quiz bowl on them. We'll have a simulated environment where they have to do that, and then we'll have a virtual environment where they have to do that. And if you slide all the way down the page, it literally shows the 12 skills. And then what we're doing every other week, we're having webinars for faculty, because we understand faculty aren't just going to be able to do this automatically. We have to teach faculty how to use the environment and what specifically are we talking about with these 12 skills. Okay? So every other Friday, we're doing webinars with all of the high school teachers that want to participate in this. Next year, we're going to probably move it also to the community college, although we have multiple types of competitions at the community college. But to address your question, this is how you get in there. We have to, crawl before we walk, and we have to have some structure. What are we specifically looking at as far as a body of knowledge for each of these competitions?
Maybe for incentive, you might maybe talk to sponsors, I don't know, and have like a prize.
Oh, we are.
something
We are going to have prizes.
At the end for the.
Yes. Yeah, we are going to have prizes.
So, and that's been the challenge. We started out with a high-end competition over the last several years, but the realization was you're really seeing the students at the end of their career, or at the end of their educational career before they go out and get a job. Well, we looked at the need down at the high school level and at the community college level as a pathway. So that's, again, this starts that pathway, and now students can get into careers. So we're trying to get students into cybersecurity careers, or have a base of cybersecurity skills as they're moving through those career decisions while they're going from high school to community college to the university.
The most dangerous thing you can do is teach IT people and leave out security. I don't care what level it is. If you're doing a high school, community college, whatever, security's got to be threaded throughout your curriculum. So this is all built on IT Essentials or the A+, N+, and CCNA level. This is not CCNP. This isn't the high level. This is really basic stuff. But security is weaved in all the way through. So.
And you're not going to go into the high schools and start teaching Metasploit and Backtrack and these types of items. So we know that as we progress through our security, there's going to be a higher level of learning.
I know they do. Right.
But they know it. They know it. But that doesn't mean we're in the classroom showing up. But by the way,
but the high school teachers don't know it. Right now, most of them.
The high school teachers may not know it as well. So. Again, this is the progressive, so that is an important piece. And again, we started this project only a few months ago, so we're looking at a lot of good things over the next few years.
That's a really nice rubric of the security tasks. Is that from a particular specification?
Yeah, we sat down with Cisco and subject matter experts from Microsoft and so on, and we came up with, at a high school level, if we look at A+ and N+, and let's say the first part of CCNA, what are the basic things that a student should leave with? And then what we do is we back this up with curriculum, so there's about 20-some hours of curriculum that we give high school teachers to incorporate within their curriculum. And instead of them picking it up across the curriculum, they can now concentrate on it if they want to. So there's PowerPoints in here, there's reading assignments, other tasks, and so on that are part of the website.
Is that available to
Yes.
teachers?
Yes.
If you want to review that.
Wide open.
How do I get
It's wide open. Now there will be passwords for the test items and things like that we're going to use in the competition, because we don't want anyone to have access to that. But the basic stuff for instructors, all the instructor resources will be wide open.
And where do they get that?
They will be up here in about 2 weeks. But if you go to these, right here is the opening page. We have our partners, and then instructor resources. We're going to have sort of a list of different things. So we'll have videos. We already have. Just to give you an idea, there's videos up here. Right, for each of the different, every kind of task that we say the students have to be able to do, we'll have a video up there that shows you how to do the task.
So if you miss us, you can see us on the videos.
Wow.
Erich is real famous. And then we'll have PowerPoints. And again, we're still filling these out, but there'll be one for every single task. There's lab exercises, both virtual and simulated if you're using Packet Tracer, if you're a Cisco Academy. Oh, they're not up there yet, John. We'll have them up there. We have a 2-week deadline here. It'll be up by. There's sample quizzes, so they can take practice tests before they actually take the competition. And then some of the tools that we let them use as part of the competition will be up here as well.
What you're showing right now is available now. We can go out there.
Yeah, and there's
Is that compete at?
it's compete.morainevalley.edu.
We're building it this semester. We've been actually architecting it in the fall, and John's been spearheading the project. And we'll be building this site. But again, it's really open for everybody. We're looking for it to really take off at the high school level, where you don't have to spend a lot of time and effort as a high school faculty. But this is something, especially for the community colleges, to go in and say, here, we have a security program, and here's some things that you can do to get your students interested in these security programs so that they can articulate or transfer over to our programs in the community college. And then the next phase, which is next year, we're going to start working on almost a similar type of project, but the levels of skills will be the next step higher into the community college level.
But you think about what you're doing, you're giving students not only knowledge you're testing them on, but the ability to test these things in a simulated environment and then in a virtual environment at a high school level. That's the way the world's going. I mean, you're not going to go into very many centers nowadays that aren't using the technologies. So they're really, they're actually getting a piece of reality as part of this. So, but yeah, that's the idea behind the website, and we will have another one up next year for community colleges. The scope will be much wider though.
How do you see this relating to Cisco Academy stuff?
Cisco's helping us sponsor this. So Bob Schonauer, that does the NetWriters, is helping us as a pilot this year. Now we don't know what the future is. Is it going to be long-term commitment? We don't know. CompTIA is going to sponsor the first-year competition with us. They've already told us they're on board. We have some contacts with Microsoft. So, we see this as something we want to be sustainable. We get this going. We're in different cities around the country, and then ultimately get additional funding and ways to keep it going.
And the Cisco Academy, for example, has the CCNA security. Well, CCNA security we look at it as an undergraduate level curriculum. It's well suited for the community college. It works well, and so that will be a component. The learning exercises and skills that are pieces of that will be components that are included in the community college or 2-year college level skills competitions that we'll be building next year.
And that same rubrics we're looking at having adopted by Skills USA. So we've been in meetings with them. We're helping them develop, because we don't want to have a separate security thing. We want to change the mindset. Security doesn't have to be a separate. It should be threaded
Right.
throughout the curriculum.
Right.
So, instead of having a separate security thing in Skills USA, we're going to try to incorporate it within the networking and computer competitions.
I want to get your take on how it's gone so far in the back end in provisioning the NDG stuff, because that sounds like for putting it into a community college, sort of, Educator is getting over the hump of the basic configuration of the templates from which you create your pods. Once you've already gotten to that point, then you can obviously clone pods.
Okay, that's a really good question. I'm gonna get to that. Just 1 second. Okay.
Okay.
We have a question over here before I jump on that.
Right, when you say 2 semesters of Cisco, are you looking at 2 Discovery or?
Discovery.
Discovery.
Yeah, Discovery at the high school level.
Yeah.
Got it.
And we've mapped every one of them, so if you actually want to point to where do you teach this in the curriculum, there's a map for it too.
So again, we're looking at that tiered model. We want to get students at the high school in the pipeline. We want to get them excited about security, but we don't want it to stop. And we want to look at these. So here's the virtual environment. So the question we had here was, so now tell me more about NetLabs. Well, is it a complex environment to provision? Well, in this case, actually, this is a 100% virtual environment. So the complexity really comes in if you're including physical equipment in your environment. There is a level of complexity. There is a higher level of cost because you're buying equipment. Where we see a lot of the future in security is fully virtualized environments, because they're easy to replicate, they're easy to implement. It's pretty much, once you have your underlying VMs, whether they were built in VMware and Player, we can convert them up to ESX. This is just an ESX server. Every one of these is running in ESX. This is just a front end that reaches down into ESX that presents the windows as you open.
So when you take the NDG box and you hook it up to a pair of Dells, does it have a set of scripts to do all your vSphere stuff? Or are you doing it yourself? That's basically what I'm saying.
Okay.
I've got my VMs.
There's 2 answers to that, and we have NDG here with us that can back me up on this. But okay, first of all, is there scripts where I can sort of provision all that out? Well, let's say
I do that already. I'm already doing vSphere, and it's not a lot of fun.
you do at this point. You do have to copy. You do have to copy your VMs. You do have to do a number of things. In the future, okay. In the future. There's some very impressive technologies that are coming. How far should I go, Rich?
Go ahead, you can tell everybody.
Okay.
I showed it to folks earlier.
Okay, this is very impressive. Okay, what vSphere allows you to do in the 4X versions is just unbelievable. Most people don't know under the hood what vCenter can do, and it's just unbelievable. You can fork off multiple copies of snapshots off a base VM, so I could have 10 students working off one VM at the same time in totally different environments, all working off snapshots. Okay, so the question is, I can set up a base set of VMs, okay, and the eventual potential, okay. Right now, this is a function of the ICM integration with VMware. So if you go with the VMware Academy, you're going to see that capability very, very easy to do. In the future, as things start to expand, the concept is right now in the VMware Academy, I set up my base VMs and I say, oh, I think I need 10 of those pods. Click, 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 click. There's your 10. There go. That's how easy. And they take about 1 minute, less than a minute, to fork off each pod. So it's a movement where right now what you're talking about NetLab is you're talking about an ESX support for NetLab, which is what we're doing. The future is a vCenter support, and that gives you hooks, so the APIs that go into the vCenter product, which gives you those full buffet or complement of capabilities, which gives you, which again allows you to really do some amazing types of things.
Well, you should mention is part of what Erich's doing is really important is we're building content with them. So just like when you're a part of the Academy program and you get labs and well, that's what we're working on.
So the important part now is we can build the best environment in the world, but if we don't have content for it, nobody's going to use it. If we don't have good content, the academic world is not going to accept it. So that was the focus on content, and it is 4:08. I want to give a few minutes, but let me give you an example. So in this setup, this is what many of you are used to. and you've seen, but what we did is just attach a simple lab. And in this case, we didn't have separate labs, we had one lab, and this is a PDF file. So if students want to go ahead and work on a lab, oops, of course, connection closed. Let's close up that.
Embedded right into the site.
There we go. So students can go ahead and they can work on a lab, and as they go through, they can work on the lab, they can work in the virtual environment. This environment is actually running back at Moraine Valley. You're going to work on it in just a few minutes. And whether they're working on XP, or they're working on Backtrack, or they're working as a team or not, this environment will let them go through and do the lab. Oh, looks like somebody's already been working with it. Okay. That must have been me. Okay. So, and we run, whether you're running Metasploit, whether you're running whatever security tools, it's all sandboxed. So, without really sort of being going on and on, maybe take any last questions, and then I wanted you to thought it was good to get an experience with it, see what it's like, because we really think for security learning, this is the future. Where we're going is these types of virtualization. And yeah, we could set up an ESX box, and we could use Lab Manager, or we could use a lot of different things. But we look at the future as having a controlled content environment, and that makes it easy for us to deploy content. As an instructor, I want to worry about my technical skills. I don't want to worry all day about setting up labs, and this has just been unbelievably great for us. I don't have to have 5 lab people running around trying to make sure every lab is working every day with movable hard drives and crazy
And if
things.
something doesn't work, you reboot it. No, and it's back up in a couple of minutes.
This
and
is
you're,
just,
you know.
and not only that, but the student, they love it. They go home, they do it, they go to work, they do it. Wherever they are, they do it. In fact, these labs, the one you're going to start in a second, and in fact, when you go home, I'm just going to give you all accounts. You can go home and do this. I'm not taking the system down. You can go home, you can play around tonight with it, whatever you want. Doesn't matter, right? Because when you're done with it, it's done.
The only
Right?
thing is, we only created 20 accounts, so here we may have to have these double up. And
Yeah. So, anyways, let's maybe get you guys logged in. If you're at the VMware one this morning and you know how to log in, the accounts are. I better log out. Who am I logged in as? The accounts.
you're at.
Everybody has a number on their machine. What are the numbers over here? Okay. So I have accounts MPICT 1 through 20.
Where do I have to go to a particular website?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is you look at your machine, you get your account, and then we're going to go to cyberlab.morainevalley.edu. We're going to go to cyberlab.morainevalley.edu. Now, if your number is over 20, then you're going to need to.
I'll find out what number.
We're gonna need to look for some free numbers. So, because we only have MPIC 1 through 20. It's not 01, it's just MPIC 1. The password is password 123. The whole word spelled out, password 123. It'll make you change your password, it'll make you put in an email, you can put in a bogus email, it doesn't really matter.
What was our website?
And you can use
again this
20.
morning?
Okay.
What was the website this morning?
Yeah, it's cyberlab.morainevalley.edu.
There we go.
You have 2 R's.
Yeah. M-O-R-A-I-N-E.
On page 18. There you go.
And if there's one more open, so.
And this is why when we actually have like competitions or we have
All right, so
events,
13, if you want, you can use 13.
this is why we take the first hour for orientation.
What is it?
The password is the word password 123.
Those used if we were trying to get to it.
If you can get through the first little tiny lab that says do a little ZenMap scan, we're probably in good shape. Again, the idea was to sort of show you this kind of, think about this as you're doing it. I'm going to talk and bother your mind here. As you're doing this, think about the implications in your classroom. That's what I really wanted to focus on. Think about the implications in your classroom for being able to offer a cybersecurity labs curriculum. And again, the one you're doing, we put this together in 2 days. So this event took us about 2 days to build. But you can run all these really cool tools that were shown to you in the last session. You can do all this stuff in a sandbox, and you don't have to worry about it. And your students can schedule time on their own, and when they're done and they click I'm done, it just snapshots everything back and they're ready for the next round. So it's a great way. I'm encouraging other departments to look at this for programming. You want to teach, you want to teach C, you want to teach .NET, whatever. It's a great opportunity to come up with a concept of virtual classrooms. And for the techie people like us, it's easy to see the possibilities. But this is the direction we're going for security, events, and competitions. What you're looking at is an event we ran in cooperation with the FBI and DHS for the students within Illinois. And again, it worked out very well. It took a couple days to put the labs together, but it worked out very well. And again, we're trying to encourage students to look at security careers. The FBI wants students to get involved in security careers. DHS wants students with security careers. Secret Service wants to. The government wants security professionals. And certainly industry wants those professionals as well. And if they're not security professionals, they're IT professionals with security skill sets.